Have you ever gone to shop for a vehicle? You were excited. You thought, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to get the car of my dreams, and I'm going to pay X amount of dollars a month. And you were feeling great. Only to realize you were going to spend literally all day in the car dealership. You were not going to get the car of your dreams, and you were going to pay a lot more for a vehicle that you had no intention on buying. Maybe you've experienced this, maybe you haven't, but the point that I'm trying to make is the bad experience that I just explained is probably going to be the experience of those who have either run away from credit their entire lives. I'm just going to pay cash for everything. Or those are the people who have possibly abused credit because they didn't know how to use it. And they probably have never defaulted, so to say, but they didn't know some of the tips that keeps your credit where it needs to be and helps it to grow and flourish and help you to be the individual that had the dreams of that dream car. Let's go ahead and talk about some credit today. So we're going to have two main points for this training. How do I know where to stand or where I stand? How do I know where I stand? And the second point is going to be, how do I know where to walk? Okay, so how do I know where I stand as far as this thing called credit is concerned? The first step, the easiest way to know where you stand is just to go out and pull your own credit report.
So to start out, you're going to want to come to this website here, annualcreditreport.com. You notice you have access to 3 of your main credit bureau reports. So if you notice, you will not get your credit scores. Freecreditreport.com or 3 of the main bureaus will offer that for a fee. Here's where you're going to fill out all your personal information. Fill it out as thoroughly as possible. You'll notice as I scroll to the bottom, it will ask you, have you lived at your current address for 2 years or more? If you have, that's the only address you need to add. However, if you're new to that resident, you're going to need to put in your previous place of residence. Once all that's filled out, you just click next. I'm going to fill it out real quick. Notice I have an option to go ahead and pull all 3 reports or just one. I'm just going to pull one. The reason for that is because I want to use these other reports throughout the year to do an update or a check. I'll go for my TransUnion report. That's essentially it. After this window here, it's going to populate a screen that's going to ask me some more specific questions to verify my identity.
To the credit bureaus, well, you want to call them and you want to make sure they start reporting the good information of you making these timely payments, these consistent payments. So it's going to have your payment history on there. It's going to have inquiries on there. So again, this is another way to find out if someone is looking at your credit or using your credit, shall I say, and it's not you. Because you know if you've been searching for credit, you know if you filled out an application. If you find that you have a lot of inquiries on there and you haven't been looking for anything, well, chances are someone else is using your information to look for your credit. So that's going to be on there. And it's also going to show you if you have any negative marks on your credit. This is going to be in the payment history. It'll show you if you're 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late, 120 days late. And hopefully this isn't any of you, but if it is, it's okay. This happens to the best of us. If you have anything such as judgments against you or charge-offs, things like collections, it's going to show you these things on your report. So this is how you know where you stand. Access your credit report. Let's talk about how do we know where to walk. How do you know where to walk? How do you know what to do with credit, right? Some people don't want to use it at all. Well, I would say you're actually hurting yourself. If you find yourself where you're going to have to go buy a vehicle, most people don't have 20, 25,000, 15,000 even, 10,000 either of liquid cash that they can just dispense with to go buy a vehicle. And so you're going to want some credit. If you show up and you don't have any credit, you might be thinking, whoa, that's great. No, that's actually not good. You're not going to be able to qualify for those prime rates that's going to allow you to have a low monthly payment. Let me just give you a tip, by the way, since I'm talking about cars right now and I'm a former car salesman. Let me just give you a tip. Don't go to the car dealership and do all the business there. In fact, I would encourage you to go to one of two places. Go to your personal bank, your personal credit union. Here's why. If you go to the car dealership, they're going to shop you around to various lenders. What that means is you can go look for a car at one dealership. And this has happened to me personally. And when I left, I've had 12 hard inquiries on my credit. Those remain on your credit report for 2 years. Well, within that 2-year span, an excellent inquiry rate is going to be something along the lines of, let's say, 2 to 4 inquiries within 2 years. I had 12 within 1 day. So how do you even get to a point where you have credit? Well, get a credit card. That would be the easiest way, is to get a credit card. You can do this through secured credit cards. You can do it through unsecured credit cards. The biggest factor in having credit that impacts your score is your payment history and your credit utilization. Those are almost equal. So your credit utilization, what is that? It's going to be your debt to income rate, or your debt to limit ratio. So if you have $1,000 credit limit, that's not a whole lot. But if you have that, you want to stay anywhere from 10 to 30%. Did you get that? 10 to 30%. Let's say that your credit card company says, we want to offer you an opportunity to raise your limit from $1,000 to $10,000. You go, whoa, that's a big limit. Now, so let's say you blow all 4 tires on your car somehow. I don't know how that would happen, but let's say you did. It's $800, maybe $1,000, maybe more dollars to pay for that. And you just don't have that out of pocket. Now, let's say you have a credit card, though, and the credit limit is $1,000. And let's just say that those tires are going to cost you $999. Let's say it's going to cost you $1,000. Let's just make it even. Sorry. Let's say that those tires are going to cost you $1,000. Now you have $1,000 limit and you say, oh, I'm going to put it on my credit card. Okay. So if you do that, at this point, you are maxing out your credit card. You will have a negative impact on your credit score as a result of maxing out your credit card. Now let's say you have $10,000. Same thing happens and you put it all on your card. $1,000. What's 10% of $10,000? Bingo, $1,000. So not only have you been able to alleviate an emergency in your life, but you have stayed at that 10%. Another thing is payment history. Again, this is going to be the single most important factor. So you don't want to get into the habit of opening and closing, transferring balances and closing accounts. You want to keep long accounts. Those things that you know you should pay, the best way to make sure you pay those things are to automate. Automate your payments for your credit cards to at least pay the minimum every month. I would encourage you to pay more than a minimum and not to always carry a balancer. If you can help it, don't carry a balance at all. So what we talked about today is just knowing where you stand. Access your credit report, annualcreditreport.com. Understand the information that's on there. Look for things that don't belong to you so that you can get those removed because they're not yours and you shouldn't have to suffer for that. We've talked about where to walk, having the proper credit utilization, having the right, debt to limit ratio with 10 to 30%, no more. 10 to 30%, and that'll boost your credit score. We've talked about paying on time, so automate. I'll say it again, automate. We talked about hard inquiries. You don't want to apply for credit all the time, okay? Even if you feel tempted to apply to get like a discount somewhere, sometimes stores offer this to people. If you sign up for our credit card, we'll give you 10% off your purchase today. Don't do it. Don't do it if you're going to do it often, because that can affect you negatively. Also, we've talked about negative information. Call in to pay it in full so that they will delete the information from your credit report. And we've talked about a credit mix. You want to have multiple forms of credit. So this is how we know where to stand. We know where we stand. And this is how we know where to walk with credit. I hope that this has been helpful. First things first, go get your credit report today. Annualcreditreport.com. Credit is there for emergency situations and as a tool to help you have access to the best or the prime interest rates that you want to have to save money. So, go out, don't fear, use credit, but be wise. Thanks for checking this training out. Have a good day.